Welcome to your Key Discovery Point. I am Brett Burney from Nextpoint, joined by Doug Austin of eDiscovery Today. Doug, we are recording this on Wednesday, August 6th, and I bring that up because in about 5 days, you and I are both going to be in National Harbor, Maryland, or close to D.C., for the ILTA conference, what is known as ILTACON. They've got a real nice page at iltacon.org. But one of the things that you do every year, which is kind of fun, is you take the whole agenda and you create a word cloud out of all of that. So folks kind of have a little bit of an understanding, like, what can we expect when we go to ILTACON next week?
Yeah, and it's something somebody used to do it years ago for for when it was called Legal Tech. Then they stopped doing
Right?
it, so I started doing it for that one, and I've also been doing it for ILTACON and a couple of others as well. And yeah, what I generally do is I take the detailed agenda, I cut out all the names and all that sort of stuff, the fluff stuff, and really try to get to the core
Right.
sessions. And then I just I basically just run a word cloud on it. I just copy and paste it into a word cloud utility on the web, and I say, give me the counts of terms and give me a word cloud. And then I, of course, one of the things I do is I try to remove terms that are that you would expect to be overused, like legal and technology and things like that.
Right.
And then kind of leave you with what you have there. And as you can see, when you look at the word cloud, is that there's one term that really stands out as very large compared to the others, and that's AI.
One term,
Yes,
AI, of course. I
yes.
was going to guess extranet or, fax machine, but no, AI is the biggest term here.
Yes, maybe next year for extranet. You never know.
Maybe.
But yes, AI, was already growing in terms of appearances on agendas everywhere. But this year, I mean, it took just a huge leap, where it actually, I compared to last year where the term AI appeared, I think it was 62 times. This year, it appeared a whopping 167 times. So
Whoa.
that's more than 100 times more than last year. And then, of course,
Yeah, complete
that's
complete with the
also
Ron Burgundy quote.
right.
So thank you for throwing that in,
Yeah,
Doug.
so, yeah. Hey,
That
got to do
escalated
that.
quickly.
And then, of course, 13 more for Gen AI, four more for artificial
Wow.
intelligence. So 184. That's even more than the word legal. So that says a lot. Last
That's a
year,
lot.
yeah, last year
Wow.
data was the top term, and it is still right near the top. It's actually, I think, fourth, I think. But yeah, actually, I said it next to meaningful term. It's not the next meaningful term, as it turns out, because firms and tools both appear more than that. But data appears a lot. Firms and tools, management, strategies, insights,
You
words you
know,
expect.
we
Um,
should say, Doug, for folks that may not know, we've been using ILTA because both you and I are very familiar with this, but this is the International Legal Technology Association, ILTA. So every year we have this annual conference. That's what we are calling ILTACON, just in case anybody needed to know. And so the fact that AI is the top occurring word isn't very surprising, right? For those of us, Doug, that go to a lot of these legal technology conferences, it has certainly taken over all of the headlines and sessions. But you and I get on and talk about e-discovery. This is the key discovery point. And so, where did the term discovery or e-discovery come out? Because I do remember the days when e-discovery was probably one of the top terms in the top three, at least, Doug, I would say.
Not anymore. Last year it was pretty decent at 37 times when you took eDiscovery,
Yeah.
E-Discovery, and Discovery. This time it's almost half of that. Only 21 times where those terms are mentioned.
Wow.
So, bit
Okay.
of a drop, which is kind of interesting because both you and I are part of sessions that deal with eDiscovery, which we'll
Right.
get to here in a moment. But a couple of things that I'll say. First of all, I have to give a shout out to ILTA. In that, when it comes to putting together a word cloud, sometimes it's easier than others because you have to click on individual sessions and copy and paste and whatnot.
Right.
They put the entire for a 5-day agenda on a single page, which makes it easy
Oh,
to find
yes.
things and easy
Good.
to pull the information. So that really helped. A couple of years ago, they're so accommodating. They actually put it into a spreadsheet for me and took did the painstaking work to help me with that. So they've always been really accommodating there. Litigation support is one of the things that has always been emphasized at ILTACON more than other conferences. And as you can
Yeah.
see, it is again here. And then one of the things I think is notable here is that security, both cybersecurity and just security and governance are both way up. Cybersecurity and security terms almost 3 times last year's total. Governance almost 4 times last year's total. And privacy is only 6, but that's still double last year. So they are getting into some of these other areas. It's a little unfortunate that a little less emphasis on eDiscovery, but we'll hope for more next year.
Well, I think that's just reflective, obviously, of what I think a lot of folks are going to be going. The ILTA conference is, I would say, typically kind of leans more toward a lot of the I would say big to large law firms. A lot of them attend, and ILTACON is usually a lot of folks that are at the law firms from IT professionals or financial officers or HR officers. A lot of staff folks. There's a lot of lawyers that do come, obviously, from these law firms, but this is really meant a lot of times to help understand how to better support the practice of law. And so I think that it's a lot of that kind of reflects that here, certainly with the security and the governance and the privacy on there, and AI. I mean, everybody is asking, how can we incorporate AI better into our practice, into the firm, so that it can be used properly. That doesn't necessarily surprise me. I just think for you and I have a little, I'm a little sad that eDiscovery is kind of going down. But again, I think that just reflects certainly what the times are calling for. But you and I both, Doug, are holding the torch high for eDiscovery. Both you and I are honored to present a session at ILTA, and we are both talking about eDiscovery. What is your session that you're going to be presenting, and when is it, Doug?
So my session is essentially about preparing a litigation response playbook. So it is, it's on Monday, right, 4 p.m. I'm doing that with Ross Dubinsky, of Managing Director at Harbor. One of the cool things about this is, as a part of the session, we actually put together, components of a litigation response playbook. We have
nice.
a number of different litigation checklists and forms. Nextpoint was kind enough to donate one form on deposition checklist, which was great. We contributed some of our forms. We reached out to some other folks, and we really tried to compile a list of these forms that are going to be available to the folks who attend. So they're going to have kind of these forms that they can use and then kind of learn from, and maybe, kind of customize for their own forms and what have you. So very excited about that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. My session, I think I am actually on Tuesday. Let me bring it up there. Yep, there I am. So that's Tuesday, August 12th next week. And this is a little bit of a unique one. I just mentioned that a lot of times the attendees from ILTACON are typically from larger law firms, but I have been honored over the years when I've gone to ILTA that I have been invited to speak on a couple of sessions that are more targeted to like mid-size and small law firms. And indeed, this year, again, I'm doing a session. I didn't pick this title, but I do think it's kind of cool. It is Kids Meal eDiscovery, Shoestring Solutions for Small Scale Projects. And really, the gentleman that is overseeing our sessions just really wanted to have some practical takeaways and tips about tools. Like if you don't have access to a very high-end document review database, if it's not a huge client, for example, that has funds that they can pay for a big, large document review with, multiple dozens of contract reviewers. What if you just have a few small documents, but you still want to make sure that you're doing it right? And that's sort of the focus of this session, Kids Meal eDiscovery. I am doing this with Tamika Brooks, who is the Director of eDiscovery at S2 Data, along with a partner from Kane Kessler, John Sabin. And I got to tell you, we've had a lot of fun over the last several weeks getting together, talking about this, going through different tools. All of us are bringing a little bit of a different set of experiences and tools that for this session. And so similar to what you were just talking about, Doug, one of the things that I always enjoy about ILTA is that people are going to have some practical takeaways, just like the checklist that you're talking about. We're making sure that people understand some of these tools that they can utilize, if they don't have a huge case. And even if it is a large firm, sometimes I find some attorneys at larger firms have some smaller projects, right? In addition to the bigger ones. And this session could also be helpful for that. Wow. Okay. So that's great. Two great eDiscovery sessions. And you and I both know there are several others throughout the days there at ILTA from a lot of the folks that we know. So, while you go to ILTA, hopefully that if you are planning to be there, by all means, I would say, look both me and Doug up and say hello, come to our sessions and ask some questions. We're always happy to do that, Doug.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check out your session on Tuesday because I think that's a great topic. And I think there's going to be a lot of really terrific, ILTACON's always great from an educational standpoint, from a networking standpoint. National Harbor is one of my favorite ILTA locations because it's a Gaylord, but it's not just as massive as the one in Nashville. So it's
still pretty big.
It's easier to navigate around, and it's a nice area because there's a lot of restaurants and bars and things to do. So it's a good area to be in, and I'm excited about it.
Check out Doug's post on the ILTACON 2025 word cloud. And if you are going to be at National Harbor next week, we look forward to seeing you. Thanks for joining us, Doug, and we'll talk with you next time.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everybody.